Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. This is going to be part 3 of my makeup collection. These are my bronzers. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today we are going to be talking about all of these lovely bronzers I have for you. These are all of the things in a compact. Back here I still have a little cubby with some creams and liquids things in, but there are creams in here too, because I kind of keep them by type rather than like the way they're packaged, more so than what the formula is like. Some of these I've tested out, some of these I haven't, and this is part 3 of my makeup collection series that I'm doing for you all throughout February. I like doing this once a year, going through everything, swatching as many products for you as I can, so that I feel very solid on what's in my makeup collection before I sit down to fill my declutters and like decide what I need to get rid of. Looking at this, I just love most of these so much though, so I know that if it gets time to be decluttered, I'm gonna have such a hard time. And another thing that always happens to me, if I swatch things like this in declutters, I want to keep everything and I can't get rid of things. So it's sort of like a save me from myself process that I'm trying to do here, and I'm just taking you along for the ride. And this way you get a really good overview of everything that's in here and that I have going on. So let's get to these bronzers and talk about all of them. So by the way, if you want to see these on my face, I do have reviews up for most of these over on the blog. There's only a handful here that I haven't reviewed yet, so I'll make sure to let you know. But by the time you see this video, because I'm filming it in advance, you might actually have already seen the reviews for those as well, because I haven't been buying that many bronzers this time around. So where to start? Let's start with something that was in my favorites list for 2024. It's the Soap & Glory Solar Powder Bronzer. This thing came back. I used to own it, had pan on it, decluttered it because it was long since discontinued and I didn't know what to do with it. But by now they've brought it back and I'm so happy. It's still the same shade that I remember it being, with one lighter shade and then a darker shade, and their lighter shade has a little bit of pearl running through it, but not too much, you know, not too much. So this is one of my favorites. It is pretty light though, and you'll see that that's a theme here. I have really pale skin, as you can see, so a lot of my bronzers are really light, and for the longest time, I was someone who struggled finding bronzers that weren't too deep for me and that weren't orange. This is leaning towards that orange side, so I like it more so from like spring to fall, because with bronzers I definitely have like favorites for like the winter time when I'm dead pale, which is right around now, and then there are bronzers that I use more so in the summertime. A bronzer I hit pan on in 2024 is my Becca Bali Sands, and it is my aim to one day use it up completely, but you can see I have a good sizable pan on this. So I think in the future I might be able to actually use it up for sure, and this is one that I was really using a lot in the springtime. So again, really nicely light, and I feel actually the shades of these are quite comparable. The Soap & Glory is a little bit more pigmented. A bronzer I was trying to hit pan on in 2024 but didn't quite manage. It's super fingerprinty because it was in my Shop My Stash as the only bronzer I was using in December, so it was very messy there. And I did scrape it down yet again because this gets hard pan so quickly. And you can already see where it's starting to deepen up yet again. But I'm so close to actually like hitting pan on this thing. It's the Fenty Beauty Stalk'r bronzer in the sun, in case you were wondering. This is really nice, really light as well. But because this hard pans so easily, I don't think I would ever buy it again. And this is a little bit deeper than the Becca or the Soap & Glory, but I feel that it shears out beautifully. And for the longest time, this was my favorite fair skin bronzer. So that's why I also want to like hit pan on it, because I had it for quite a while, but I just feel because it gets the hard pan, I don't think I would be likely to repurchase it. And the Becca, even though I've panned it, I cannot repurchase because it's no longer around, of course. Let's see. Another really nice light option I find is this Makeup by Mario one. This is the Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer in the shade Light. This is beautiful. It does look really messy because this is a cream, And I feel that when you open it up, it sort of gets like dust and stuff in there. So I tried to, like, I think there's a hair stuck in there, which is just gross. I would never be able to pass this on to someone else. But the good thing about this is that I do have a really nice dent in this. So I think that this is another bronzer that I can pan. It is a little bit more orange compared to the other things, but because it is such a lightweight product, it's just really, really easy to manage. And I just feel like I can, like, this looks so beautiful when it's diffused all over the skin. But you don't have to spend the Makeup by Mario kind of money because the drugstore does it as well. The Makeup Revolution Cream Bronzer in Light and the Catrice Melted Sun in Beach Babe have a very similar texture and shade to it. The Catrice one does hard pan every single time, so you do need to like warm this up, and I haven't used this in a while, so this is feeling pretty dry. But you need to use the heat of your finger for this to actually like come back to life, and then it will. It just feels really dry all the time. And this is just a little bit more pigmented, but it has the same beautiful sheer out as the Makeup by Mario does. But the most similar thing I feel is the Makeup Revolution Ultra Cream Bronzer in Light. This is a really nice texture, and I really like this shade as well. It's quite light. Like the Catrice one, it's quite pigmented, but it does sheer out. It's just something you need to be a little bit careful with. With the Makeup by Mario, I feel I can keep piling it on because it's so sheer. And these ones are definitely more pigmented, but they do give a similar effect once on the face. So here are the first 5, I think 6. I may have to continue here just to not make everything super messy. Another cream bronzer in a compact is this one from Rose Inc. This is in the shade Kauai. It's a beautiful bronzer. It really, really is. The only problem with it is that it's really, really tough to blend, and it's just a little bit too matte for my liking. So I didn't love it for that reason, even though I heard so many content creators raving about this when it first launched, and I was like, this just isn't quite for me. So beautiful product, yes, but not something that I necessarily need to keep around in my life. Sigma sent me a huge, huge package with some of their stuff in PR. This is their matte bronzer in Light. I also got one in medium, but that one I actually already put in the declutter pile because I knew it was going to be too deep. This is that sort of light bronzer shade that I do like on myself, but this is too yellow for me. It's too warm toned. It didn't quite work on my skin tone, I found. One that I love is this one from Dior. This is the Dior Forever Natural Bronze in Tan Bronze. And this is a little bit more pinky toned. It's one of the very few truly pink tone bronzers that I have. Maybe you can see the shade a bit better like that. This is really beautiful. And I go back to this all the time. So here is what the Dior looks like. It actually looks more yellow tone even than the Sigma one, but you can definitely see that it does have a different undertone. I feel with bronzers, it's sometimes so difficult to tell what they might look like on your skin. Then this one I was super intrigued with. This was sent to me in PR as well. This is by What's Up Beauty. It's the Cheek Tear Bronzer in Light. Again, they also sent me a deeper shade, but that is not going to work for me. But do you see those purpley tones in there? Is that going to make it look cooler toned? I wondered. So I just swirl all of these together, and when I swatched it, I'll swatch it next to the Dior right here, I definitely feel that it looks a little bit more pinky toned. So I haven't used this one on my face yet. This is one I still need to review. So I can't wait to see how that goes. Then this Kruidvat bronzer in Sunny Side Up. This is Natural Tan, was really lovely as well. This is a Dutch drugstore brand that's cheap as chips. Like the packaging feels absolutely trash. This was like under €5 at the Dutch drugstore, but it's actually really, really nice. It is very light, but it is perhaps a little bit too yellow for what I would want to go for right now, but this is really good. Another oldie but goodie. I know so many people have decluttered their Nabla. What are these called again? The Skin Bronzing Sun-Kissed Effects Bronzing Powder in the shade Ombre. I don't want to get rid of this. This is like one of those gel sort of powder things. This still works beautifully, and I think that the shade is really good as well. I just haven't used it because I was trying to hit pan on my Becca bronzer during the period that I would normally use this bronzer as well. So 2025 is going to be the year that I go back to my Nabla bronzer. Then we all know I love a good K-beauty product, but K-beauty and bronzers, they're not really a match made in heaven. So they do these contour-like products that you could potentially use as a bronzer, especially if you have a more cool tone leaning undertone for sure. This is by Peri Para. This is their V ink shading or ink V shading in almond brown. And as you can see, this is pretty cool toned. So for most people, this is going to be a contour, but repeat after me. If you've been here before, you know I love using a contour for bronzer. And here is what the Peri Para looks like. So you can just see why that would work as a bronzer on someone with my skin tone. Then I think discontinued, so no longer around, but these were so good. The Holiday Skin bronzers from Catrice. You can see which one I've used more, right? This was a really lovely, like, almost like, you know, the Physicians Formula butter bronzers. I used to own that as well. It really reminded me of that. It also has that same sort of summery smell. 010 is the lighter one. This is 020. I was like, wintertime, summertime. This one I never use. This one I've used a boatload, and I would definitely want to keep this around. This reminds me a lot of a Makeup Revolution. No, not Makeup Revolution. Makeup Forever bronzer I used to own, which I'm actually thinking of repurchasing. I don't need another bronzer in my life. I know that. But this reminds me so much of it, and it's actually one that I decluttered because it got too old. But yeah, I would like to have that back in my life. And then 020 is just deeper. And I was like, that's going to be perfect for the summertime, but it's just a little bit too dark for me. It is a really beautiful undertone though. Then I think the lightest bronzer in my collection is by Pat McGrath. This is the Divine Bronzer in the shade Naked Desire. And this is one I really, really didn't know what to do with because this product is so expensive. But you can tell that I love this because it had embossing, and then when I put it in my Shop My Stash, I pretty much wore down the embossing straight away. So then you know it's a good product. But this is very, very pale. This is quite possibly one of the palest bronzers I've ever used. Really, really light. Another oldie but goodie, a product I've tried to hit pan on so many times and I just never got around to it. This is the Take Home the Bronze in the shade Oliver. Which is by The Balm, which I haven't heard anybody talking about anymore. Look at how well loved she is. This is a very well loved product. Again, not something I've reached for recently because I was hitting pan on the Becca one. But this is a huge dip as well, so I still want to keep it in my collection. Can I show it to you here? No, I'll swatch it here. So here is that one. It's a beautiful shade still till this day. I think this is one of the best bronzers ever made. Then another summertime bronzer that is a really beautiful red undertone. I don't have too many of those. This is the only one I've kept around. It's by Urban Decay. It's the Beach Bronzer in Sunkissed. I never reach for this though. But it's such a good summertime shade because this really gives you that reddish tone. At least if, like, I don't tan. I'm too pale to even tan. But this, if I do go out in the sun, my skin starts to look more red than anything else. So this is very different in terms of undertone compared to everything else, which is why I actually keep it around. New to me, and that it's something that I haven't reviewed at the time of filming, but maybe by the time you're seeing this video, I might have. This is the Butter Melt Bronzer from NYX in the shade All Butted Up. Number 2. Number 1 was far, far, far too yellow. So I found that this had a better undertone for me, so I went with that instead. Because I did go into store, I did find these in Superdrug when I was in Scotland. And I think, oh yeah, that also has that sort of pinky undertone. Look at how red that looks. That's the Urban Decay, which was always my red bronzer of choice. Ooh, that's interesting. So if this is nice, if I use this on my face and I can actually sheer it out nicely, then maybe, because the Urban Decay I've had for years, like this thing is like 8 years old, I think. They no longer even do it. But the NYX may be a replacement for it, because that is a very similar undertone. It's just far more pigmented, which is something I've heard of other people, that these butter melt things from NYX are super pigmented. two Kiko numbers. One that I use all the time and one that I just bought to try something else from the brand. The one I use all the time is this one. This is the Flawless Fusion in shade 1. And this is by far one of the lightest bronzers I have ever found, especially at the drugstore. So I'll pop it here. So here is what that Kiko looks like. Very similar to some of these lighter things that I've got going on here. This is a perfect wintertime bronzer for me. But then they also do the Radiant Touch Bronzing Powder in 101. And this is just a little bit deeper, so it's a similar thing to what I had going on with my Catrice bronzers, where I was like, a winter shade and a summer shade, but this is just, I don't know, putting it over here. Yeah, look at how dark that is. And much too orange for my liking for sure. It's very orange. So maybe this has to go, but I love this, like anything cheek-wise from Kiko with the silver packaging, I just love. I'm a stand for that entire range that Kiko does. I just am. So here are all of the powder slash things in a compact that I've swatched so far for you. But I still have all of these creams and liquids to go through, which I'm gonna wheeze through because I already know that this needs a cull, because there's like one product, this Kiko stick, and maybe this essence thing, and the Rare Beauty. Those are the things I truly, truly know I love. So I could like get rid of everything that's here. Why is this here? Why is Spotlight in here? See, this is why we do these things, because this is a highlighter that needs to go into the next video. But yeah, these three I really enjoy, and the rest, maybe one or two things can stay, but the most of these things I'm like, no. So shall we start with swatching these three favorites? Rare Beauty in Power Boost. Ooh, knocking the camera right there. So here is what Power Boost looks like. I actually kept this one over another one when I decluttered my makeup last year. I think I decluttered the M Cosmetics one I had and kept this one instead. This is one of my discoveries of 2024. I already tested it out for the first time in 2023. Bought it on your recommendation because someone in the comments was like, the Kiko Milano Sculpting Touch Creamy Stick Contour in shade 200 is totally up your street. And I was like, contour? Really? But yeah, this is really, really nice and very, very light. It's very similar, I feel, in undertone to things I love. But yeah, it's marketed as a contour. And I think on someone with warm skin, this is definitely going to look a little bit more cooler tone. But on me, it's that perfect. It has that hint of warmth that I'm looking for in a bronzer. This is quite possibly the coolest toned bronzer-like product I've ever tried. For most people, this is going to be a contour. And when I swatch this, like, it looks so gray in the packaging. But magic happens. Ooh, I'm knocking you guys over all the time. But magic happens when you blend this, because it looks really gray at first. Look at that. Like, the applicator you need to ignore, because they're trying to dupe the Beauty Light ones from Charlotte Tilbury. The packaging is trash. Just squeeze it out like this and blend it with your fingers. It works much better. So super gray, right? But look at what happens when you shear it out. There's arm hair there, so I do apologize. And that was only one little blob. Do you see how far that goes? And this is €3 at the drugstore, and it definitely does have warmth. So just putting it out there that is one of the coolest toned options for any sort of bronzer that I have ever tried. Let me take most of this off because I need more room to swatch, because else we won't have enough room if I'm already going to swatch that there. This is also by Essence, but this wasn't great for me. This is the Drop of Sunshine Bronzing Drops. This is, of course, meant to go into your tinted moisturizer or foundation as like a mix-in kind of thing. But I hope you can see, compared to everything else that I do like, how orange and yellow this is. This is not a good look for me. It's not my shade. This I do like, the Charlotte Tilbury contour one, but ever since I bought the Essence one, I haven't reached for this. And the reason why I don't reach for this, I'll let you know. But this is super duper red toned. It's a very intense swatch. Let me see if I can tone it down a little bit without messing up the other swatches. Let's take some of it away. But it is so intense and red and just not my skin tone. So I'm actually considering when it's time to declutter, like look at how this dries down, this Essence one. And then compared to the Charlotte Tilbury, like this is far better for my skin tone than something intense like this. This is far more aimed at light to medium skin, not fair to light like mine is. Then I do have some lovely products in here. These are all good products. Let's just start there because these aren't bad products at all. It's just that I don't reach for them. That's why they're in the bottom. That's why they're in the bottom. But yeah, these are nice products. Let me tell you that. The Cloud Paint in the bronzer shade. This is in shade Swept from Glossier. I love the Cloud Paint blushes, which is why when they came out with the bronzer in this formula, I really, really wanted to try it. And this is good, but I had to go a shade up because the undertone, like with the Buttermelt bronzer from NYX, it was just far too yellow. So undertone wise, this is better for me, but because it's slightly too deep. So in the summertime, this can work. And of course, this does sheer out beautifully. I'm not gonna lie there. Ooh, we're getting a lot of clouds. Here's a lot of cloud cover all of a sudden. So here we have the Glossier one. This, I'm gonna do the messy things first. This is also by Kruidvat, the Dutch brand I just told you about. This is the Sunny Side Up Matte Liquid Bronzer. And this is a bit like the Essence Bronzing Drops. It's just a little too orange for me. So it is a beautiful product. I can sheer it out. It works. But yeah, look at that. It's so orange. It's even, like this is more golden, so it's more yellow tone, but this is orange. This guy, the e.l.f. Halo Glow Beauty Wand in the contour shade. This is in Fair Light. And this is beautiful. It's very similar to the Essence one. I'm now swatching them side by side because I was curious. Here's the e.l.f. and that's the Essence. They are very similar. So maybe the e.l.f. might be a contender, but can you see what's happening to my e.l.f. one? It's starting to separate already. And I haven't had this for a very long time. So not sure how stable these e.l.f. Halo Glow things are. Plus, that's the thing I don't like about these e.l.f. things, is that they don't like close down. Like the Essence ones have the locking mechanism that the Charlotte Tilbury has as well, but these do not. You just twist up the cap, but that does mean it's not airtight, which is why I like the Essence one a little bit better than I do this, but the shade is lovely. For the shade, I would definitely consider keeping the e.l.f. one. Then the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer in the shade, ooh, what's this? This is Feeling Shady, which is again marketed as a cool tone shade, or a contour shade, I should say. But this, I'm just gonna swatch all the grayish tone things together. If I put this here, again, really lovely. It's even lighter than the Essence one. I like all three of these. They're really good offerings at the drugstore. These two are also dupes. I filmed some shorts with this as well. The Milk Makeup Bronzer Stick in Baked. Used to have a big version of this. Now I have the small version. And this one has yet again expired. It smells like Play-Doh. So this is why I don't love this. It dries out super quickly. And also what I have found is that the Essence one I have, this is the Baby Gut Bronzing Stick in Cinnamon Spice. Not only is this still good to go, the shade is also better for me. So if I swatch them side by side, here's the Milk Makeup. That's the Essence one. And they are very similar, but the Essence one is actually still good to go. And the Milk Makeup one has expired, so that would be a very easy declutter, of course. And then this is by P. Louise. This is the Flirty Flush of Depth. the cheek of it, and this is the liquid bronzer in Time for Tea. This was gifted to me by one of my subscribers. Really, really kind. Is this the one? Yeah, this doesn't have the, there's a sponge that's supposed to be here. But this, I don't love. I just don't like the packaging, because this is how you have to use it. I'm not sure if you can see this, but this is a pump, this thing, and then you need to squeeze the product. There's so much air in these things. And then you need to squeeze it at the same time. So you need to squeeze and pump and press this down to get the product out. And I just don't love it. It's not even working anymore. I was able to swatch it a while ago, but this is just, it's like you can hear the air going back in when the pump like releases. Like, this is so just not it. Yeah, and the mechanism is already broken because nothing is coming out. I've only swatched this. I haven't even used it on my face. And the reason why I didn't use it on my face was because I hated that mechanism so much. So yeah, that's it. Those were all the things I could even swatch for you. So here are all of my bronzers. So these are all of the bronzers that I just showed you and that I swatched for you. We are having a massive rain cloud coming in all of a sudden, so it's super dark outside. So if there's any glare, I do apologize, but I'm filming this last bit just with my studio lighting. And yeah, these were all of the bronzers I have. Is it definitely due a bit of a cull, a bit of a cleanup? Yes. But do I really enjoy all the bronzers I have? Yes. And then I think the only bronzers I haven't reviewed are these two. Everything else has a review up. So you can go and have a look at that if you want to. So thank you so very much for joining me here today. This was part 3 of my makeup collection video for you. I'm going to be continuing this series all throughout February. I still have blush for you. I still have highlighter for you. I'm going to be swatching out all of my lip products. Bear with me on that one. I'm not looking forward to filming the swatches for that. And I'm also going to be probably doing a swatcheroo with all of my single shadows as well, because I just need to go through that as well. So yeah, I hope you like to stay tuned for more. I do film 4 regular videos on this channel as well, so there's a lot of content you can look forward to. So for now, I really hope you enjoyed watching this. Thumbs it up if you did. Subscribe if you want to stay updated to when I post new videos. And then I really hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so very much for joining me, and then I hope to see you in my next one. Bye-bye.